Good evening, my weary academics, and welcome to History to Sleep By, where we nerd out and conk out. If you enjoy calm, narrated history documentaries, or just need a reliable friend to help with restless nights, please subscribe, leave a like, and maybe share a comment about what's happening in your life. That way, you'll always find your way back to us. Now, let's begin tonight's journey. In the sweltering summer of 1780, the American Revolutionary War found itself drawn into the Southern Theater, a region of strategic importance and simmering tension. The British, having seized control of Charleston earlier that year, sought to solidify their grasp on South Carolina. Inland posts became vital footholds, and the British aimed to secure them to maintain their supply lines and influence. It was within this context that Lieutenant General Lord Charles Cornwallis took command of British forces, a mix of seasoned regulars, loyalists, and provincial troops. His objective was clear: to quash the rebellion in the South and bring the colonies back under British rule. In response to the British advances, the American Continental Congress appointed Major General Horatio Gates to lead the American forces in the Southern Campaign. Gates, celebrated for his earlier victory at Saratoga, faced a daunting task. His army was a patchwork of continental units and a large contingent of untried militia from North Carolina and Virginia. Among his officers was the experienced Baron de Kalb, a German-born soldier of considerable repute. The challenge was formidable, as Gates had to mold these disparate elements into a cohesive fighting force. Gates set his sights on Camden, South Carolina, a key location for the British. His advance from North Carolina was marked by difficult decisions regarding supply lines and routes. The American forces, driven by urgency and necessity, moved southward, hoping to catch the British off guard. Cornwallis, aware of Gates's movements, prepared his troops for a confrontation. On the night of August 15th, both armies embarked on a night march, unknowingly on a collision course. In the early hours of August 16th, the two forces stumbled upon each other near Camden. The pre-dawn darkness added to the confusion, as both sides hastily deployed their lines. The American militia, inexperienced and untested, found themselves facing the British regulars on one wing. On the other wing stood the Continental soldiers, under the command of de Kalb, prepared to hold their ground. The British, with their veteran regiments, positioned themselves strategically, ready to exploit any weakness. As the first light of dawn broke, the battle commenced. Cornwallis, alongside his capable subordinate Rawdon, ordered the British advance. The American militia, confronted by the disciplined volleys and bayonet charges of the British, faltered. Panic spread through their ranks, and many fled the field in disarray. In stark contrast, de Kalb's Continentals fought valiantly, resisting the British onslaught with determination. Yet, despite their bravery, the tide of battle was against them. De Kalb, amidst the chaos, was wounded and eventually captured. His leadership had been a beacon for the American forces, but with his fall, the collapse of the American army became inevitable. The flight from the field turned into a rout as the British pursued the retreating Americans. Casualties mounted on both sides, but the American losses were particularly severe. Many were killed or captured, and valuable supplies, guns, and equipment fell into British hands. The Battle of Camden was a decisive victory for the British. Gates's Southern Field Army was effectively destroyed, and British control over much of South Carolina was reinforced. The defeat dealt a significant blow to American morale and tarnished Gates's reputation. The loss underscored the challenges faced by the Continental forces in the South and set the stage for future changes in command. As the dust settled over the battlefield, the implications of the defeat weighed heavily on the American cause. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, seeds of resilience and determination began to take root. The Southern campaign was far from over, and new leaders would emerge to carry the fight forward. For now, though, the night enveloped the weary soldiers, and the land lay silent once more, a witness to the ebb and flow of history. As we drift into sleep, let us remember that even in the darkest moments, the spirit of perseverance can light the way forward. In the days that followed the defeat, whispers of change began to ripple through the ranks of the Continental Army. The summer air was thick with uncertainty, but also with a quiet resolve. The soldiers, though weary and worn, found solace in the camaraderie that hardship often forges. Around campfires, stories of past victories were recounted, serving as both a balm and a beacon. The men spoke of Saratoga, where the tide had once turned in their favor, reminding themselves that adversity was not unfamiliar terrain. As the sun dipped below the horizon each evening, casting long shadows over the encampment, thoughts turned to the future. The leadership knew that to reclaim momentum, a shift in strategy was essential. General Nathaniel Greene, a man of steady demeanor and keen insight, was soon to take the helm. Greene was known for his ability to adapt, a trait that would prove invaluable in the challenging Southern theater. His approach was not of direct confrontation, but of strategic maneuvering, understanding that flexibility was key in the face of a formidable foe. The land itself played a silent yet pivotal role in the unfolding drama. The dense forests and sprawling fields of the Carolinas offered both refuge and risk. For the Continental forces, the terrain could be an ally, providing cover and concealment. Yet, it could just as easily become a labyrinth, where the unfamiliar could lead to peril. Greene, however, saw opportunity where others might see only obstacles. He envisioned a campaign that would stretch the British forces thin, harrying them with quick strikes and elusive retreats. In the midst of these strategic recalibrations, the spirit of the local populace began to stir. The people of the South, many of whom had suffered under British occupation, found renewed hope in the prospect of a revitalized campaign. Their support, both in provisions and in intelligence, became a lifeline for the Continental Army. The bonds between soldiers and civilians grew stronger, woven together by a shared vision of freedom. As the weeks turned into months, the landscape bore witness to a series of skirmishes and engagements. Each encounter, whether a minor clash or a significant battle, contributed to the shifting sands of the conflict. The British, though initially confident, found themselves increasingly frustrated by the elusive tactics employed by Greene and his men. The war of attrition began to take its toll, sapping strength and morale from the occupying forces. The nights were long, and the stars above seemed to flicker with a knowing light, as if aware of the struggles unfolding below. In the quiet moments, soldiers would gaze upward, finding solace in the vastness of the sky. It was a reminder of the world beyond the immediate, a world where dreams of independence still held sway. Letters from home, carried across great distances, brought news of loved ones and whispered promises of a brighter future. With each passing day, the resolve of the Continental forces grew stronger. Greene's leadership, marked by both prudence and daring, began to bear fruit. The British, stretched across a vast and hostile territory, found it increasingly difficult to maintain control. The tide, imperceptibly at first, began to turn. The Southern campaign, once a theater of despair, now held the promise of redemption. In the gentle embrace of night, as the campfires flickered and the soldiers lay down to rest, a sense of quiet determination settled over the encampment. The journey was far from over, but the path forward was becoming clearer. The lessons of past defeats were not forgotten. Instead, they served as stepping stones toward future victories. The spirit of perseverance, kindled in the darkest of times, continued to light the way. As the stars wheeled overhead, the land itself seemed to breathe with anticipation. The struggle for independence was a tapestry woven from countless threads, each one contributing to the larger picture. In the stillness of the night, the soldiers dreamed of a time when the land would be free, when the sacrifices of the present would yield the fruits of liberty. And so, with hearts full of hope and minds set on the task ahead, they drifted into slumber, ready to face the dawn of a new day. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, a gentle hush enveloped the camp. The soldiers stirred from their slumber, the cool morning air a welcome balm against the trials of the previous day. The scent of dew-kissed earth mingled with the faint aroma of wood smoke from the dying embers of last night's fires. Slowly, the camp came to life, the quiet murmur of voices rising as men exchanged greetings and shared the simple camaraderie that had grown among them. The morning routine unfolded with practiced ease. Fires were rekindled, and the comforting sizzle of breakfast filled the air. The soldiers gathered around, sharing stories and laughter, finding solace in the bonds forged through shared hardship. Each man carried within him the weight of his own burdens, yet together they formed a chain unbroken by adversity. The sun climbed higher, casting a golden glow over the landscape, and with it came a renewed sense of purpose. In the distance, the land stretched out like a patchwork quilt, fields and forests interwoven with rivers that glinted like silver ribbons. It was a land worth fighting for, a land that promised a future shaped by the hands of those who dared to dream of freedom. The soldiers knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but they drew strength from the knowledge that they were part of something greater than themselves. As preparations for the day's march began, the sound of clinking metal and the rustle of canvas filled the air. Tents were struck, and supplies were packed with care. The soldiers moved with a quiet efficiency, each task a step toward the goal that lay beyond the horizon. The officers moved among them, offering words of encouragement and ensuring that every detail was attended to. There was no room for complacency, for each day brought new challenges that demanded their full attention. The march itself was a test of endurance, a steady rhythm of footsteps and the creak of leather harnesses. The soldiers moved as one, their eyes fixed on the path ahead. The landscape shifted around them, a tapestry of rolling hills and dense forests that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Each step carried them closer to their destination, a place where the dreams of liberty would be forged into reality. The sun climbed higher, its warmth a gentle reminder of the passage of time. The soldiers pressed on, their minds focused on the task at hand. The road was long, but the promise of freedom spurred them forward. Along the way, they encountered small villages where the people greeted them with cautious hope. These encounters were brief but meaningful, a reminder that their struggle was not in vain. As the day wore on, the landscape began to change. The hills grew steeper, the forests denser, and the path more challenging. Yet the soldiers remained undaunted, their resolve unshaken. They knew that the journey was as much about the spirit as it was about the body. Each step was a testament to their commitment, a promise to themselves and to those who would come after them. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the land, and the soldiers paused to rest. They gathered in small groups, sharing water and stories, their laughter a balm against the fatigue that threatened to overtake them. In these moments of respite, they found strength in one another, a reminder that they were not alone in their journey. As the sun began its descent, the soldiers resumed their march. The air grew cooler, the light softer, and the landscape took on a serene beauty that belied the struggles that lay ahead. The path wound through a valley, the sound of a distant river, a soothing melody that accompanied their steps. The soldiers moved with purpose, their hearts steadfast and their spirits unyielding. The day gave way to evening, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink. The soldiers made camp once more, their movements a practiced dance of setting up tents and kindling fires. The warmth of the flames chased away the chill of the night, and the soldiers gathered around, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. As they settled in for the night, the soldiers reflected on the day's journey. The road had been long, but each step had brought them closer to their dream. The land around them held the promise of a new beginning, a future where the sacrifices of the present would be honored and remembered. They knew that the path to freedom was not a straight one, but they were willing to walk it, no matter where it led. With the stars as their witness, the soldiers drifted into sleep, their dreams filled with visions of a land reborn. The night was calm, the air filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of a night bird. In the quiet darkness, the promise of a new day awaited, and with it, the hope of a brighter future. As dawn broke, a gentle mist clung to the earth, weaving through the trees like a delicate veil. The soldiers stirred from their slumber, the chill of the morning air a brisk reminder of their journey ahead. Slowly they rose, shaking off the remnants of sleep, their breath visible in the crisp air. The camp came alive with the soft murmur of voices and the clatter of equipment being packed away. Each soldier moved with a quiet purpose, their minds focused on the task at hand. The camaraderie born from shared hardships was evident in the way they worked together, each gesture and glance a testament to the bonds forged in the fires of adversity. As the sun climbed higher, its golden rays pierced through the mist, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The soldiers took a moment to appreciate the beauty of their surroundings, the rolling hills and dense forests that stretched out before them. It was a land rich with potential, a place where they could lay down roots and build a life free from oppression. The thought of it filled them with renewed determination, their hearts swelling with the promise of what could be. With their camp dismantled and their gear secured, the soldiers set off once more, their footsteps steady and resolute. The path ahead was uncertain, but they moved forward with a quiet confidence, trusting in their ability to overcome whatever challenges lay in wait. As they marched, the rhythmic sound of their steps echoed through the trees, a steady beat that matched the pulse of the land itself. The forest seemed to embrace them, its towering trees providing shelter and solace as they journeyed deeper into its heart. The day unfolded slowly, the sun tracing a graceful arc across the sky. The soldiers paused only briefly to rest and take sustenance, their eyes ever watchful for signs of danger. Though the land was peaceful, they knew that it held its own perils, and they remained vigilant, ever mindful of the need to protect one another. As the afternoon wore on, the shadows lengthened, casting intricate patterns on the forest floor. The soldiers pressed on, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that each step brought them closer to their goal. As evening approached, the forest began to change, its colors deepening as the light faded. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the day gave way to the gentle chorus of night. The soldiers found a suitable place to make camp, a small clearing nestled among the trees. They set about their tasks with practiced efficiency, their movements a seamless dance of cooperation and trust. Fires were lit, casting a warm glow that pushed back the encroaching darkness. Gathered around the flickering flames, the soldiers shared stories and laughter, their voices mingling with the crackle of the fire. It was a time of respite, a chance to reflect on the journey thus far and to draw strength from one another. The bonds between them were strong, forged in the crucible of shared experience. They spoke of the past with reverence, honoring the sacrifices that had brought them to this place. But their thoughts were ever turned toward the future, a future they were determined to shape with their own hands. As the night deepened, the conversation grew quieter, the soldiers lulled by the warmth of the fire and the gentle rhythm of the forest. One by one, they drifted into sleep, their dreams filled with images of a land reborn. The night was calm, the stars a glittering canopy overhead, bearing silent witness to their hopes and aspirations. In the quiet darkness, the promise of a new day awaited, and with it, the hope of a brighter future. The forest stood as a silent guardian, its ancient trees whispering secrets to the night. The soldiers slept soundly, their hearts at peace with the knowledge that they were part of something greater than themselves. They were the stewards of a new beginning, charged with the task of building a world where freedom and justice would prevail. It was a daunting challenge, but they faced it with courage and resolve, their spirits unyielding in the face of adversity. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the forest stirred to life once more. The soldiers awoke to the gentle sounds of birdsong, the air filled with the scent of earth and leaves. They rose with purpose, their hearts light with the promise of the day ahead. The journey was far from over, but they knew that they were not alone. Together, they would face whatever trials awaited them, their eyes fixed firmly on the horizon and the future that lay beyond. The morning sun cast a warm, golden hue over the landscape, illuminating the path that lay ahead. The soldiers, though weary from the night's restlessness, felt a renewed sense of determination. Each step they took was a testament to their commitment, a silent vow to the ideals they held dear. The forest, with its towering trees and whispering winds, seemed to echo their resolve, as if nature itself was urging them onward. As they marched, the rhythmic crunch of leaves underfoot became a comforting cadence, a reminder of the earth's enduring presence beneath them. The world around them was alive with the subtle symphony of nature. Birds flitted from branch to branch, their songs weaving through the air like gentle lullabies. Squirrels darted across their path, pausing momentarily to observe the procession before disappearing into the undergrowth. The soldiers moved with a quiet grace, their movements synchronized as if guided by an unseen conductor. Each man and woman carried with them the weight of their own stories, their own hopes and fears. Yet, in this shared journey, they found solace and strength. The camaraderie that had formed among them was a bond forged in the fires of shared struggle and sacrifice. As the morning progressed, the sun climbed higher, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The path began to wind upward, leading them to a gentle rise that offered a view of the land beyond. Here they paused, taking in the vast expanse that stretched before them. Rolling hills, dotted with patches of wildflowers, extended to the horizon, a tapestry of colors and textures that spoke of the land's resilience and beauty. In this moment of stillness, they felt a profound connection to the world around them. The land, with its enduring cycles of growth and renewal, mirrored their own journey. It was a reminder that even in the face of hardship, life persisted, finding ways to thrive against all odds. This realization filled them with a quiet hope, a belief that their efforts would not be in vain. As they resumed their march, the path began to descend, leading them through a series of gentle valleys. Here, the air was cooler, the scent of pine mingling with the earthy aroma of the forest floor. The sound of a distant stream reached their ears, a soothing melody that beckoned them forward. They followed its call, the promise of cool, clear water, a welcome respite from the day's heat. Reaching the stream, they paused once more, kneeling by its banks to drink deeply. The water was crisp and refreshing, invigorating them for the journey ahead. As they rested, they spoke in hushed tones, their voices mingling with the gentle babble of the stream. Stories were shared, laughter echoing softly through the trees, a testament to the bonds that had formed among them. With the sun now high in the sky, they rose once more, their spirits buoyed by the brief respite. The path ahead was uncertain, but they faced it with a quiet confidence, each step a reaffirmation of their purpose. The forest began to thin, the trees giving way to open fields bathed in sunlight. Here, the land stretched wide and open, a vast canvas upon which their future would be painted. As they moved forward, the landscape shifted, revealing glimpses of distant mountains, their peaks shrouded in mist. These ancient sentinels stood watch over the land, their presence a reminder of the enduring strength of nature. The soldiers drew inspiration from this, their resolve hardening with each step. The day wore on, the sun casting long shadows as it began its descent. The air cooled, a gentle breeze rustling through the grass. They pressed onward, the promise of rest spurring them forward. As evening approached, they reached a small clearing, a natural sanctuary nestled within the embrace of the land. Here they made camp, their movements practiced and efficient. Tents were pitched, fires kindled, the warm glow casting flickering shadows on the ground. As night fell, the stars emerged, a glittering tapestry against the velvet sky. The soldiers gathered around the fires, their faces illuminated by the soft light. In this quiet moment, they reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The trials they had faced, the victories won and lost, were woven into the fabric of their shared experience. Yet, despite the challenges, they remained steadfast, united in their vision of a better world. As the night deepened, they spoke of the future, their voices a gentle murmur against the backdrop of the night. Dreams and aspirations were shared, each word a thread in the tapestry of their collective hope. The fire crackled softly, its warmth a comforting presence in the cool night air. Slowly, one by one, they drifted into slumber, their dreams filled with the promise of the days to come. The forest stood watch over them, its ancient presence a guardian of their rest. And as the stars wheeled overhead, the world continued its silent vigil, holding within it the promise of a